Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show.
Join us as we cover many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons. Are you ready to get jacked up? Are you with us? Then listen on.
Listener discretion is advised. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. Jacked Up Review Show.
I love Rob Zombie as a musician.
He's a good musician.
I love White Zombie. I like when he went off and did Rob, when he, splintered off and just became Rob Zombie, which is basically White Zombie with different people. It's not like he changed his. I love him as a musician. I've seen him 2 or 3 times live.
Nice.
I think I might have. I don't want to think I say I've seen all his movies, but I've made a concerted effort to see all of his movies. Devil's Rejects, in my opinion, is far and above the best of his. And
Firefly family or whatever they call themselves.
the Firefly, and it's one of those deals where when you see like House of a Thousand Corpses, and of course you can't talk about Devil's Rejects without talking about his other movies. You see House of a Thousand Corpses, which is such a blatant ripoff of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and movies of that ilk, and where
forget it's the same universe. It's like what?
Yeah, this whole thing is that it does this fucking tonal shift from being like not slash is not the right word, but like hillbilly horror. And then, of course, the characters are still
movie. Yeah,
and then they're definitely still hillbillies, but to a road movie, natural born killers, gritty,
definitely Tarantino-esque. Yeah,
and like he grew up so much, and then then the hugest disappointment is that he didn't keep up that level of quality. Everything, and then, oh my God, 3 from Hell, the third one in the trilogy.
Very confusing.
God fucking awful, and mind you, I'm an enthusiastic fan. I come in saying like, I want to enjoy this movie. And then you watch it, and don't get me wrong, it gets better on the second viewing, but that's still not saying much. You still,
I think El Super Beasto is his best movie by far.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But like you say, you got to admire his ballsiness and wanting to create his own universe, which you can't say about many of these other infamous filmmakers in this day and age who just, again, like you say, take better plots. He didn't just stick to, hey, now I got to do my best Tobe Hooper, any other kind of horror movie impression. Is like, now I'm going to go even further. He could have gone the easy route. He could have done Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street knockoffs. And like, no, he went even further to just say, now I want to revisit these characters and just do a totally different on the road Badlands kind of premise.
Yeah, and of course it has all the markers. It has his wife in it. It has
porn stars and
porn stars and B movie. You have the old aging, just about dead B movie actors. And,
in the 90s, everyone knew William Forsythe as Reggie, and Alfred Justice. Like, no, now you know him as the sheriff in this movie.
Yeah, such a fucking badass sheriff, and that whole scene, like, where he's Lord, I am your weapon, or give me the strength. It's so like, that scene could have easily been done horribly, or or been done cringy.
I think it's well shot.
The only thing is it it hits the tone, like, you know, like if you have a pitchfork, you know, I have a tuning fork. I mean, you know, it hits the tone perfectly, and it could have easily been spoofy or cringy or like, you know, oh, here's the scene, you know, and he's praying and he's gonna pray, and it's like, no, you really feel like, holy shit, he's fucking out for revenge. He's out for revenge, and
with this one, I feel like he went to Tony Scott school. He's like, I'm gonna just give you a lot of fierce, quick improv edits, but it doesn't even really feel like a music video anymore.
Yeah,
similar cutting and everything, but yeah.
Yeah, and the whole thing is that when you watch the scene, he actually, like, you see the same line delivered from two different angles, which is weird. Like, you know, you know, that's not traditional, but the scene is done so well that, you know, Lord, I am your weapon, or something. He says something to that effect, and then it cuts to a different Lord, I am your weapon, and you know he didn't say it twice. That's supposed to be the same line delivered from two different angles. But
was he watching Homicide: Life on the Street a lot? They do those kinds of edits.
And, you know, but you forgive that, you forgive that, and you know, and you know, the you know, the scene where you know, they take in the country band in the hotel room, and you know, and they put the gun down the girl's panties, and it's what, and then, you know, I'm one of those people, like, and I'm looking, where I know that woman from, like, that's the, you know, that was the girl that replaced Chrissy on Three's Company, like, you know, the actress, and you know, and you got Brian Posehn, and you know,
I'm sure they wondered what kind of a movie they were being asked to do, and they're like, well, it's just something else. It's
you know, and the Mama, and it took me a while. Like, of course, I had IMDb it. The, you know, Mama Firefly was from the Police Academy movies. I can't believe I forgot the actress's name, but you know, she was the one who's, the joke is that her whole character for 8 of those movies was, I'm the girl with the big tits. You know, she's the sergeant with the big tits.
Sure you're not talking about Vice Academy?
No, it was from Police Academy. Shit, I forgot the actress' name, but, like, you know, but then you see her as a character, the Mama Firefly, you know, and they have her in the you know, handcuffed to the chair, and she's, you know, going apeshit and hysterical.
Leslie Easterbrook.
Yes. You know, and the whole thing is that, you know, it's one of those deals where, like, you see her face, and I'm like, where do I know? And of course, by the time you get to Devil's Rejects, she's way past her prime and stuff like that. I mean, she's still an attractive woman, in my opinion. You know, I'm one of those people that, like, we're off here for a second. I'm one of those people where, like, if you were hot 30 years ago, I would fuck you now, even if you're 500 pounds. Covered in warts, because I'm like, hey, at least I got that. Right. Makes any sense. You know, and my friend,
everyone's had said in their own way.
My friend's like, you know, I'm not going to eat mold because at one point it was a delicious pizza. Right. And I'm like, no, I'll eat that mold. I gladly eat that mold. But, you know, like, I mean, my point was that, you know, her in the Police Academy movies, you know, she was a one-note joke for 8 movies where, like, I'm the sergeant with the big tits. And, you know, even her performance in the movie is the hysterical, you know, Mama Firefly, and, you know, handcuffed to, you know, with the runny mascara down her face and stuff like that. It's and I hate to use the cheesy word like haunting, but it's fucking haunting. You know, it's such a good flick.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the slow motion edits are kind of unusual at the end, but I mean, out of all the movies that either have a cult status or infamous, depending on the crowd you react to, I would hardly put it at the bottom of the barrel. You know, that would be something more just like I would put more of those overrated art house movies, let alone Dogma 95 style movies, at the bottom of the barrel.
And to do the full version of Freebird at the end of the movie, the balls it takes, you know,
to get that money and make it work. Yeah.
You know, it's one of those deals where, like, you're watching it, you know, and you know, upon the second viewing, you realize, holy shit, they played the whole fucking version of Freebird.
Yeah. You know, and now people are actually getting their lighters out. Freebird replay. Encore. Yeah,
and it's the whole thing is that's the hacky joke. And of course, you know, making a movie about hicks and rednecks and hillbillies and shit like that, and putting Freebird in a movie, that it's almost you know, it's a you know, you're parodying yourself almost, you know, but it was used effectively. It's one, I mean, maybe it's just me, but, you know, I like, you know, you kind of once you see it the second time or something, you realize, oh my god, this is so fucking ridiculous. but it still works. It's like once again, he hit the right spices. He made the stew just fucking right, because that movie is so good, and even he fucking has the wrestler DDP and Danny Trejo and
a quarterback in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Chicken fucker. Even they cut the head off chicken and stick a dick in it. Go It's such a stupid. It's a stupid scene, but it's sort of. It's so hard to kind of it sets a tone, and
right,
and the whole, and that's one thing is you notice in the later movies he doesn't do that.
No.
Everything is I got clown makeup on, and I'm gonna kill you, and
Dracula.
Yeah, and
it's basically a Western.
Yeah, it's a Western. Obviously with the hillbilly aesthetic and stuff like that, and if there are hillbillies out there who get offended by that word, I apologize.
Fucking hillbillies.
The fucking this New York City cocksucker. No, or should I say, how dare you say hillbillies? When I say hillbilly, I mean it. Or should I say good old boys or whatever? When I say hillbilly, I mean it. I don't mean it.
Good old boys are taken over by the neo-Nazis now.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying when I say hillbilly, I mean I mean that aesthetic, but I don't say it with malice. I say it with it paints a picture. But yeah, Devil's Rejects. There's so many good scenes in it, talking about dressing up like Princess Leia if you're gonna be a prostitute, and everyone's love. And it puts you in that world where. Because it's the whole thing is that they're talking about Star Wars, the original Star Wars. I'm assuming as if it's the movie. It's in the theaters right now. They never say a year, but you get it sort of like those 70s, late 70s, early 80s. Obviously it's a time where people didn't have cell phones. But then again, if it takes place in that universe. The kids from House of a Thousand Corpses. What is House of a Thousand Rejects? What the fuck did I get that from? House of a Thousand Corpses. Devil's Rejects. That's what I was. Okay. House of a Thousand Corpses. Like the guy's like, oh, I'm writing this for my blog or whatever. They go to they go to the attraction because it's for like his, or maybe he's saying he's putting a book together. I don't know. I don't know. It just. Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure if you look hard enough, there's big discrepancies between where this universe is supposed to take place. But it has that late 70s
grindhouse look.
Yeah, grindhouse, and you would go see the Devil's Rejects right after you saw, Halloween.
More grindhouse than actual Grindhouse, the movie with Tarantino Rodriguez.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so I mean that's pretty much all I got to say. It once again it was a very delicate stew to make, and it would have been very easy to add the wrong ingredients and make it a shitty movie, which unfortunately is happened. I do not like any of it. I mean, okay, I like Super Beasto, but that I don't like. I forgot about it until you brought it up. Which is once again shows you something. A Rob Zombie fan and forgets about one of his movies. But all the 31 and Salem, Lords of Salem.
Someone else to write for him or something,
Yeah, that's the whole thing. You can't give him total carte blanche. You got to rein him in and say, look, this movie has to make sense. It can't be 45 minutes of your wife walking around and it's just shots of her ass that we can see from behind, and she has corpse makeup on, and that's not a movie. That's not a movie, Rob. We need a story here. Give us something, Rob. Robert Zombie.
Robert Zombie. Robert. It's probably what his mom called him. Robert, you'll get to your room now and start rewriting my script.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try?
They must be destroyed on sight.
The new Podcast Cure-All, sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of...
They must be destroyed on sight.
as needed and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
Hey, I heard you like movies.
I heard you like to hustle.
I heard you like podcasts.
Well, guess what?
There's a podcast for you out there called The Home Video Hustle.
Damn right.
Every Friday, we talk about whatever movie PJ picks out the bag. What does that mean? Every Wednesday on our YouTube page, I put a bunch of movies in a bag, and PJ picks one out at random. And then we just watch it. We talk about it for maybe like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever we feel like doing, wherever the conversation leads us.
But do we actually talk about the movie?
Most of the time. Tangents galore.
Yes.
So believe me, we may be a movie podcast, but it's not always about movies. We might talk about video games, music. Yeah, that's the big one, music. Sometimes we might get a little bit of politicalness in there.
Yes.
Sometimes we may just, we know what we like to do. We like to tell stories, PJ.
Yes.
I am the master storyteller of the podcast realm. Undefeated. So if you like to hear about movies, video games, whatever foolishness comes to our mind, the most random stuff you can think of, check out the Home Video Hustle. You can find us on the Stitchers, the Google Play, Apple Podcasts,
what else?
Podbean,
what else?
Podcast Addict,
goddamn,
all that. Ain't no reason you can't get your hustle on. We everywhere, worldwide, baby.
Hustle, motherfucking hustle.
Hey, we can't cuss in the promo, PJ. We gotta be family friendly. There may be podcasts out there that don't want his hair to say all that good fun stuff.
Well, you.
Don't run the listeners away, PJ.
I'm sorry.
But this is going kind of long.
Yes.
So we'll end this and say, hey, check out the Home Video Hustle every Friday on all the various podcast outlets. Peace.
Peace.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. And while Witch didn't make it to the top of the world, he did make the Gangs of Hollywood podcast. So join the gang and enjoy a movie review podcast about movie gangs, gangsters, mobsters, and the mayhem they cause. You can find GOH Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GOH Pod at www.gohpod.com, as well as your favorite podcast listening app. And remember, say hello to your little friend for me.
If you take two old punk rockers who are past their prime, put them in front of a movie screen, and give them a podcast, what do you get? Cinema Punks. Cinepunks. It's the mixtape of movies.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of her.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this movie.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
little
popping
history
up.
doll popping up
absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped from watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was
How
going to be
could
a
you
rough
watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
Hey everybody, I'm Corey.
And I'm Zach, and we're the hosts of Podcasting After Dark, a cast dedicated to late-night horror and sci-fi of the 80s and 90s, often found on HBO and Cinemax.
You know, the movies your parents didn't want you watching as a kid. You can find us every other week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher.
This is what you want.
This is what you get.
It's time, let's check our cue, baby. Pair it with a couple brews, baby. We love good movies. We love the bad ones too. So we watch them all and pass their lessons on to you. Oh yeah. Everything I learned from movies helps to make life a little bit groovy. Whether one laughs, plot holes, or gratuitous movies, it's time to get busy with your friend Steve and Izzy at eilfm.podbean.com.
Hi everybody, it's Mac Jackson. I wanted to invite you to a new site called the Forever Adventure Network. This website has everything. Pictures, videos, blogs. There's original music by Harmony Constant. 2 podcasts. One is the MacGyver podcast, where we celebrate Richard Dean Anderson, his iconic roles, and how it's influenced our lives. There's episode discussions, interviews, and life conversations. The second podcast is the Never Gets Old podcast, where we celebrate all the best things that we love in life, from TV, movies, music, and comics. The site is also the home for the MacGyver SG-1 audio series, an ongoing adventure series that continues the adventures of MacGyver and SG-1. There are also multiple stores to choose from for all of your pop culture and adventure needs. Come on by and check us out today. And thanks for joining the adventure.
We now continue with our program.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up